The richest man in history had a problem Elon Musk will probably never have. He had too much money. Not metaphorically, literally. At one point, he gave away so much gold that entire cities felt the consequences. Prices changed. Markets shifted. People panicked. His name was Mansa Musa. And when historians try to calculate how rich he was, they run into the same problem. The number almost breaks the calculator. So if he really was the richest man in history, why has almost nobody heard of him? The answer starts with a map, or more accurately, the fact that most people at the time didn't have one. While Europe was busy fighting wars and arguing over kingdoms, something strange was happening thousands of miles away. An empire was quietly becoming one of the richest places on Earth. Most people never noticed, at least not yet. In 1312, Mansa Musa became ruler of the Mali Empire. That doesn't sound impressive. Kings inherited thrones all the time, but Mansa Musa wasn't inheriting a kingdom. He was inheriting a machine that produced wealth on a scale most people struggle to imagine. Most people assume that machine was gold. It wasn't, at least not entirely. Yes, Mali sat on some of the richest gold deposits in the world. Gold flowed through the empire in staggering quantities. But gold alone doesn't explain Mansa Musa, because if gold automatically made people rich, every miner would be a billionaire. The real answer was hiding in the desert. For centuries, merchants crossed the Sahara carrying fortunes, and almost all of them passed through Mali. That's when the story changes. Mansa Musa wasn't just sitting on gold. He was sitting on the roads everyone needed to reach it. Every trader, every caravan, every shipment. The wealth kept growing, year after year, caravan after caravan, until Mansa Musa made a decision that would change history. He announced a pilgrimage to Mecca. Sounds harmless. A religious journey, a personal mission, nothing unusual. Except Mansa Musa wasn't traveling like a normal person. He wasn't even traveling like a king. He was traveling like someone who wanted the world to understand exactly how rich he was. Thousands of people joined the caravan. Thousands. Officials, servants, soldiers, merchants. The procession stretched across the landscape like a moving city. Then there were the camels, hundreds of them, each carrying enormous amounts of gold. Not food, not supplies, gold. Enough gold that stories about Mansa Musa started arriving before he did. People heard the rumors. A king was coming, a king carrying mountains of wealth. Most assumed the stories were exaggerated. They weren't. As the caravan moved through city after city, crowds gathered just to watch it pass. People had never seen anything like it. And then Mansa Musa made the decision that turned a wealthy king into a legend. He started giving the gold away. Lots of it. To merchants, to officials, to travelers, to strangers. At first, people loved him. Of course they did. Imagine a billionaire walking into your city and handing out money. You'd probably love him too. But here's the problem nobody realized. Gold only works because there's a limited amount of it. The moment too much enters a market, things start getting weird. At first, nobody noticed. Then prices started shifting. Then merchants started complaining. Then people realized something was wrong. Mansa Musa had accidentally created a problem. Not because he was greedy, not because he was cruel, not because he was trying to manipulate anyone. He was simply too rich. Think about how insane that sounds. Most rich people can influence a company, maybe a stock, maybe an industry. Mansa Musa influenced the value of money itself. Some historians believe the effects lasted for years. Most people struggle to affect their neighborhood for a week. This man may have affected economies for years. And somehow, that still wasn't the craziest part. Because by now you're probably wondering the same thing historians have been wondering for centuries. How rich was this guy actually? That's where things get complicated. Modern billionaires are relatively easy to measure. Elon Musk owns companies. Jeff Bezos owns companies. Their fortunes rise and fall with stock prices. There's a number attached to them. Mansa Musa is different. His wealth wasn't tied to one company, or one invention, or one industry. His wealth was tied to land, trade routes, resources, taxes, political power, entire economic systems. Trying to compare that to a modern billionaire is like trying to compare a private jet to an entire airport. They're not operating on the same scale, which is exactly why historians keep arguing. Every few years, somebody tries to calculate Mansa Musa's fortune, and every few years, somebody else disagrees. Not because the estimates are slightly wrong, because the entire calculation may be wrong. People keep trying to convert his wealth into modern dollars, but what if modern dollars are the wrong tool? It's like trying to measure the ocean with a ruler. Eventually, the ruler stops being useful. That's the problem historians run into. The wealth becomes so large, so interconnected, and so tied to an empire that the numbers stop making intuitive sense. For centuries, people have been trying to answer the same question. How rich was Mansa Musa? The strange part is that the deeper historians dig, the less certain the answer becomes. Some estimates climb into the billions, others into the trillions. But eventually, the numbers stop being the point. Maybe we've been asking the wrong question. Maybe the question isn't, was Mansa Musa richer than Elon Musk? Maybe the real question is, how do you compare a billionaire to a man who helped control the flow of wealth across an entire region of the world? One operates inside the system. The other helped control the system itself. And that's why Mansa Musa remains such a mystery. Not because people forgot him, not because the records disappeared, but because 700 years later, we're still trying to solve the same problem. Most billionaires spend their lives trying to get on the list. Mansa Musa became so wealthy that 700 years later, people still can't agree where to put him on it. Because every time historians try to calculate his fortune, they run into the same problem. The number breaks the calculator, and that's probably the closest anyone will ever get to counting it.